On May 26, the presidential elections in Lithuania concluded. In connection with this, Tucker Carlson interviewed the most remarkable and controversial candidate not only of this election but of the past decade. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated with new videos. So, in this year of 2024, the Lithuanian presidential elections brought an unexpected turn. A relatively unknown 67-year-old professor of medicine from Kaunas, Eduardas Vaitkus, garnered 7.33% of the vote, trailing only the incumbent president and the prime minister, but surpassing three well-known politicians. His success had the effect of a bombshell. Lithuanian authorities had nearly succeeded in completely clearing the political field of opposition figures. Algirdas Paleckis is under arrest. Antanas Kandrotas was imprisoned before the start of the presidential race. Erika Svenčanienė is on trial, and here emerges a new leader followed by the people. Vaitkus's candidacy was supported by between 100,000 and 500,000 people. For a small country like Lithuania, these are astonishing numbers. How did this happen? What does he plan to do next? And why is he not afraid of prison or death? Vaitkus shared his thoughts in an interview with Tucker Carlson. On September 5, 2023, I announced my candidacy and presented my main points. But not a single major news agency, neither ELTA nor BNS, reported on it, despite my having paid for the publicity. They completely ignored my statement. And interestingly, when I officially became a candidate on November 14, my name was not even mentioned when discussing the contenders. It was as if I did not exist. Vaitkus recalls the beginning of his campaign. Vaitkus describes the main points of his platform as contradicting everything that has been established in Lithuania over the past 30 years. He emphasized that only the citizens of Lithuania can address the issues facing the state, as stipulated in the Lithuanian constitution. Any new direction for the country should be determined by referendum. I speak of joining the aggressive military bloc NATO, joining the European Union, ceding much of our independence to foreign powers. We are now forced to adopt laws imposed from Brussels, not the ones we want ourselves. Therefore, I assert that renouncing independence cannot be decided solely by the Seimas or the government. It must be a decision of the entire Lithuanian people, expressed through a referendum. And that hasn't happened, the presidential candidate emphasizes. Vaitkus insists that crucial decisions be made by the entire country. He also notes that under EU pressure, Lithuania has abandoned financial independence. The country no longer has its national currency. I remember how Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, was in Lithuania and spoke in the Seimas. If you give up financial independence, little will remain of your independence. But by the authorities' decision, we lost our financial independence, says Vaitkus. These points of his program contradicted current Lithuanian policies. Consequently, the Central Election Commission imposed censorship and refused to print it. They stated that my program contradicts the principles of equal voting and social harmony, said Vaitkus. 3 charges were brought against him. The first alleged that his program contradicted international agreements signed by Lithuania, including those related to NATO. This concerned his proposal that only the people of Lithuania could decide whether to participate in the aggressive military bloc NATO. If the Lithuanian people decided so, according to all legal rules, we could officially leave NATO within 12 months. I repeatedly stated that no president or government could decide this issue alone. A discussion is needed so that the Lithuanian people are aware of both the advantages and disadvantages of our participation in NATO. My opinion is that neutrality should be maintained. When geopolitical disruptions occur, being neutral is safer than taking sides between the East and the West, Vaitkus asserted. The second charge accused Vaitkus of denigrating the dignity of Ukrainian citizens in his program. He had a proposal that noted the Lithuanian president kissing the Ukrainian flag at an event with Zelensky, while the Lithuanian flag nearby was ignored, and that the Lithuanian government allowed Ukrainian citizens to bypass Lithuanian laws. The government decided that Ukrainian refugees could drive in Lithuania without vehicle inspections. The CEC explained to me that this was positive discrimination of Ukrainian citizens and that I should agree with it. I replied that the Lithuanian constitution states any discrimination, positive or negative, is unacceptable. They argued that Ukrainians are suffering greatly. Yes, they are. But other refugees, from Syria, from other countries, are not allowed to do this. I agreed to remove the term Ukrainian and replace it with foreign, but I kept the point, Baitkis clarified. The third charge. The presidential candidate stated that the Lithuanian government was a government of traitors. They told me that I provided no legal evidence for this accusation. My lawyer explained that from a legal standpoint, it was my opinion that they are traitors. Then, together with Zigmas Vaisvila, a signatory of the Act of Independence of Lithuania, I wrote 5 articles on how we gained independence and how we lost it. In one article about the European Union, I detailed chronologically, with dates, decrees, and laws passed, how we, the Lithuanian citizens, were deceived and our independence was handed over to Brussels, Baitkis recounted. In the end, according to the interlocutor, the final decision of the CEC was as follows: Eduardas Baitkis's program would not be printed. Instead, it would be stated that the presidential candidate's program does not comply with Lithuanian laws. However, this resulted in the court overturning the CEC's decision, and Baitkis's program was eventually printed. Then the authorities moved to the second phase of the fight against the competitor. The Swedish bank where Baitkis held an account banned him from transferring funds to his election campaign, as he had already spent over 20,000 euros in a month. I wrote to them, raise the limit. They replied with a refusal, citing money laundering and financial terrorism prevention. Then I approached the CEC to influence the bank, which was interfering with the presidential elections and not allowing me to pay for advertising and transporting my newspapers from Poland, where printing is cheaper. The election commission said they couldn't do anything about the bank. I approached the Seimas, which sent a request to the Bank of Lithuania, and they replied that the Swedish bank had the right to limit my transfers, Baitkis explained. But that wasn't all. The bank effectively froze 3 accounts associated with the candidate: the campaign account, Baitkis's personal account, and his accountant's personal account were combined, and a general transfer limit of 20,000 euros was imposed on them. As a result, neither the accountant nor Baitkis could use their personal funds. I wrote a letter to the Swedish ambassador in Lithuania asking him to influence the Swedish bank not to interfere in our presidential elections. The ambassador replied in English that this was my personal problem with the bank. Then I approached the CEC, declaring unequal elections. They responded that it was just my opinion, Baitkis recalled. To top it all off, the state-owned broadcaster LRT refused to print Baitkis's opinion, while the views of the other presidential candidates, all 8 of them, were published. Baitkis was outraged and received an official response: "Your opinion contradicts the principles of democracy." Attempts to influence LRT through the CEC were unsuccessful. They replied that LRT has the right to hold its opinion on another opinion. Notably, none of the other 7 presidential candidates supported Baitkis's position in disputes with the CEC. The matter went to court. Therefore, I loudly declare that these elections were not equal. And if they were not equal, based on what I have explained to you now, they cannot be considered legitimate and democratic, asserts Eduardas Baitkis. He continues, when it became clear that more than 100,000 people voted for me, they started looking for the culprit. And here the Seimas Committee on National Security and Defense discussed my issue and what I said during the debates in a closed meeting. And I said simple things. On the battlefield with armed forces, we in Lithuania cannot defeat Russia. Therefore, calls for direct military confrontation with Russia, which started in March 2022, come either from madmen or from corrupt individuals. The interlocutor notes that Lithuania increased military spending by 80%, but despite this, security has not increased, as any expenditure on military needs and equipment does not enhance our security. Vaitkus also gained attention during the debates by declaring Crimea as Russian and justifying his position. He believes the situation in Ukraine can only be resolved through negotiations, not just between Russia and Ukraine, but involving all European countries, including Russia. This is obvious, but it does not suit the current Lithuanian government, as they are leading us towards direct military confrontation with Russia, he explains. I tell the people of Lithuania that this madness must stop. As president, I would propose organizing a meeting in Vilnius with the presidents of Russia and all European countries. We would sit at the negotiation table and come to an agreement. Lithuania will never be safe if our neighbors, such as Poland or Russia, do not feel secure. Either we are all safe or none of us are. The threat will loom over everyone. And this is the threat of a nuclear explosion and the destruction of all humanity, asserts Eduardas Vaitkus. Dr. Vaitkus is convinced that there are reasonable forces in Europe, not only in Hungary and Slovakia, but also in Lithuania. At least, more than 100,000 people voted for him. When I received a death threat against me and my family, I sent a statement to the chief prosecutor of Lithuania within 12 minutes. In the end, I was informed that there would be no pretrial investigation. They said there was no need to interview the person who sent the email since I was still alive. During the debates, I expressed doubt that if President Gitanas Nausėda or Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė had received such a letter, the police and prosecutors' decision would have been the same. This is the environment we live in, Vaitkus recounts. He admits that as early as September, people concerned for his safety constantly warned him not to eat or drink in public places, to check his seat before sitting down, and not to travel alone. But my position is simple. I understand the system I am up against. If they want to kill me, I am 100% sure someone else will take my place. We will all die, but I know what I must do for the Lithuanian people. Not for the Russians, not for the Americans, not for the Germans, but for the Lithuanian people. And I will do it. Only death can stop me. Such a possibility exists, but it does not frighten me, Vaitkus declares confidently, though he may be deemed a national security threat. He clearly identifies 5 true threats to Lithuania's national security. The Lithuanian Seimas, as it amends the constitution, violates it, and constantly betrays its oath. The judicial system. The Department of State Security of Lithuania. The Central Electoral Commission. Foreign agents in the Lithuanian information space and foreign agents within our government, Seimas, and so on. I understand that from their perspective, I represent a threat, and after eliminating this threat, they would live more peacefully. My program states, Lithuania is not for sale to anyone, neither the West nor the East. We must become masters of our own land. Our homeland has been taken by these traitors in the government and Seimas, Vaitkus asserts. Interestingly, experts concluded after the first round of voting that, from their perspective, not 100,000 people, but 500,000 voted for Eduardas Vaitkus. Their pessimistic estimate was 300,000. These are the people who can support my ideas that we don't need to go to war, that through diplomacy we can stop this madness not only in Lithuania but throughout Europe, including in Ukraine. Therefore, I decided to prepare for the Seimas elections in October this year. I will gather a team. We can create a different Lithuania, fair to all citizens, which will serve as an example for other countries, our brothers. If we in Lithuania believe that the fate of our country depends on each of us, we can achieve anything, says Dr. Vaitkus. And if the Lithuanian Special Services do not allow him to complete his life's work, it does not frighten him because dying is not scary. What is important to me is that when I die, I will be at peace, knowing I tried to do something. Whether I was successful or not, whether I did a lot or a little, that's another matter. But I tried. The authorities know that they cannot bribe me, threatening me is useless, and scaring me is impossible. I think they do not yet see me as a big threat, so I live relatively peacefully. But when they do, they might eliminate me. But I repeat, dying is not scary, concludes Eduardas Vaitkus. Dear viewers and listeners, please write in the comments what you think about the candidate Eduardas Vaitkus. Do you approve of his position? If you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a like. All the best to you.